Boomer Sooner, everybody. We're doing this in one take. That's right, one take, as guess what? It is Bedlam weekend in Norman, Oklahoma. Spoiler alert, to the surprise of maybe some people, surprise to some, or not surprise to some others, I am picking the Pokes to win this game. And I'm going to delve into that as we go throughout the video. However, I did want to tell everybody I apologize for not uploading any preview videos or some post games for Baylor or West Virginia, as the last 2 weeks have been extremely hectic. I've been moving offices within about a week span. I've been working on the holidays, and as well as participating in Extra Life, where I gained or raised $275 for the event. So a lot of my time has been in other stuff that I've committed to. But that being said, most of that stuff is out of the way now, or it's being wrapped up. So I want to focus on Bedlam today. So overall, OU and OSU are walking into Norman kind of with disappointing seasons versus the expectations that they had before. For OU, we expected at least minimum to be bowl eligible by now and at least compete for a Big 12 title with the talent that was still here, regardless of what happened with Tebow going out west. I personally drank a lot of the hopium myself after that Nebraska game, as well as having some minor concerns with UTEP and Kent State before, but nothing out of the ordinary from it. However, my expectations were completely dashed, and I personally crashed back to earth after that loss to Kansas State at home. And then as the season has progressed, we've really just seen how barren the cupboard really is, and how like only a couple guys really deserve to have a scholarship or even be fielding a D1 field, let alone at OU on its own. Not to mention like just some of the effort or toxicity we've seen some of the players from the locker rooms with it. All that culminates into why we are currently sitting at 5-5 right now. For OSU, they are kind of experiencing some other growing pains as well with the loss of their defensive coordinator. Their defense has really taken a step backwards. I think more of the impact has come down to the having the bye week earlier in the season for them has really caused them to really struggle in this half of the season, especially when Spencer Sanders went down for a couple weeks. Their aspirations to reach a Big 12 title game as well, to at least avenge their only inches lost to Baylor, is pretty much all but out gone at this point. So with a bust season for both OU and OSU, honestly, how do you melt these? How do you energize these players? How do you get them up to come play this game? Well, it's for bragging rights with it, because still at the end of the day, OU needs something to lean on, something positive that they can take into the rest of the season as well into the off season, because you don't want to walk in with a losing record. You don't want to lose a bowl game, and especially because of how everything has been, you need something. You need a framework for something. For OU, literally, this is kind of the second to last chance to salvage something for the season, and getting revenge as well for last year's controversial loss in Stillwater against the Pokes. It gets you bowl eligible, and truth be told, OU again, they really need this. I think the fans need this. They need something to be happy about. Not to mention as well, guys, for OU, this is a massive, massive, massive recruiting weekend. Now, I don't claim to be someone who's in the know about recruiting. I don't claim to be someone who knows the kind of the recruiting processes at this point. But even I know this is a very, very, very big weekend. Just going down the list that you can find publicly, you can find it on Twitter. It's not taking from any recruiting or insider information. But several big names are approaching Norman, including David Hicks. Yes, that David Hicks, who committed to A&M not a little bit over a month ago, is taking an official visit to Norman, Oklahoma. So those people who said like it ain't over yet with David Hicks, it apparently is correct, and that he could flip from A&M back to Oklahoma where he was originally committed. Peyton and Eli Bowen are going to be at OU as well. Jackson Arnold, he's going to be there as well. He's taking another visit. Other notable names include Damian Sanford, Caleb Hicks, Nigel Smith, who's a 2024 recruit, Heath Ozeta, I think I'm saying his name correctly, Kale Wingington, Weston Port, Haywick Cade, Dendel Doby, who is a 5-star, Hosea Martin, Stacey Gage, and Ashton Sanders. Again, you can find all that just by basically Googling it or typing it into their announcements that they've made it to Norman. Again, just to name a few. I keep seeing anywhere from 21 plus upwards number amount of people that are going to be in Norman at this point. So that all being said, it's pretty obvious this is going to be a big weekend for OU, not just to like get everything back on track, but also too to get commit to the players that yes, everything is fine. We're having a rough first year, but it doesn't mean like everything's fallen off the rails at this point. So focusing on this game, when OSU is on offense, it's pretty clear that Spencer Sanders is their offense. He's the number 3 total quarterback in the Big 12. He's third in yardage, fourth in average like yards per throw. He's third in TDs, and he just doesn't really turn the ball over. Other than that, the O line does a very adequate job at protecting Sanders, as he hasn't really been sacked this year. But that's kind of it about the offense. With it, we'll go into wide receivers into a sec. But regardless, like Sanders is their offense because if you look at the rushing, the O line cannot just create any lanes for the Oklahoma State running backs at all. The only noteworthy player of even in their backfield is Dominique Robinson. He's only averaging 3.6 yards a carry. He can get into the score in the red zone when they get in the red zone, but other than that, he's just a non-issue for that. Watch me say this now, guys, and he's going to be like 200-yard runner at this game. Who knows at this point? That being said, though, when we look at the wide receiver game, you got a couple guys from it that Spencer can throw it to. They have Braden Johnson. He's their big yardage gainer. You got Bryson Green, who's pretty much the go-to guy. He gets lots of yardage. He can get TDs, and he has the best overall average of the wide receivers. John Paul Richardson, and then Brennan Presley. Again, another go-to guy as well for kind of like the short yardage game. So that kind of looks at the OSU offense. When you flip over to the OSU defense, boy, things have taken a step back from last year when they lost their defensive coordinator to Ohio State. Because unlike the offense, their defense is some of the worst, not only in the Big 12, but also in the nation. To be fair, we don't have a lot of talking room ourselves for it, but I digress. That said, they do have a couple guys who can individually shine. It's just the unit as a whole is not good. OU needs to watch out for Jason Taylor, who's the number 1 player in solo tackles in the Big 12. You got Mason Cobb and Sean Michael Flanagan. In addition, Colin Oliver and Brock Martin are some shining stars in the Big 12 as they can make it into the backfield and get key sacks in the game. With overlooking both the offense and the defense for OU. Again, I predicted OSU to win. I don't want this to be misconstrued. I want OU to win this. But what is the keys to the game if OU was going to win this? But honestly, everything comes back to Spencer Sanders. And it really starts with his health. Spencer Sanders has been out a couple weeks for it. They threw him out there, and I think it may have been for a show just to throw people off. I don't expect him to be 100% health, but when he was not out there, Oklahoma State struggled on the offense like we have, especially when Dylan Gabriel was out. Additionally, even if he is in the game, again, we don't know how much he's going to be. Is he going to be 100%? Is he going to be 90%? Is he at 70%? Again, I think they threw him out there just so we had to play him for him. The big thing with Sanders, though, is not necessarily his arm. It's going to be his legs because mobile quarterbacks have given us lots and lots of trouble this year. Again, it's not the throwing because you can see he doesn't make a lot of completions with his completed percentage. It's his legs. However, if we can contain Sanders, both in the passing game and the rushing game, the rest of the offense pretty much becomes pretty inept as they cannot really catch and they can't run the ball. Force them to make them one-dimensional is our friend. In fact, looking at stats even further, his longest toss and catch is 49 yards. Again, if you haven't figured it out, all they do is throw and they kind of mix it up in the red zone, but that's it. That is what they are, and you have to beat them at the throwing game. We have to actually also play into it. If they get themselves into a hole, they also don't really convert third downs, and they don't really go for it on fourth down, probably to Brent's relief based on our atrocious outcomes with fourth down at this point. For OU to win as well, you have to run the ball with Gray. This might be the most run susceptible team that we have faced to date. Feed the rock to Eric Gray. You have to give it to Eric. again, as finally as well, you're going to have to beat them with sound football. They're a very disciplined team. They don't get penalized. There's not going to be a lot of opportunities to capitalize on from penalties. If they do, sure, capitalize on, but don't expect that at this point. And finally, in my opinion, to overcome our inevitable mistakes that we continue to shoot ourselves in the foot with, we're going to need to put up 40 plus points. The other obvious as well that doesn't need to be stated, it's not part of the keys to the game, it's just what this team's identity is what team is going to show up? The Nebraska and Kansas team that we beat, or the Kansas State, West Virginia, and Baylor team? Penalties are going to make and break this game again, as usual. Brent's got to get over some rookie head coaching mistakes. Our D line versus their O line is going to come down to it, and we can't leave any points on the field at this point. So that being said, my final prediction, mirroring what I said at the beginning of the video, I do not expect OU to win this game, whether it be a closer game or a blowout. I think if the players come out to play, I think they could win this game. But we've also said that about Kansas State, Baylor, West Virginia. You get my point. Especially with teams that are at full strength, OU has really, really struggled versus teams that are missing a player or they're missing key offensive guys or anything like that, or they're really, really banged up beyond what Oklahoma State is. With how inconsistent OU is, as well as our trend of just doing amazing, doing okay, losing a heartbreaker, and then getting blown out, this game honestly has me very, very, very worried. I predict the Pokes to beat us 45-34 in a back-to-back win for them in a relatively high-scoring affair. Like I mentioned before, I'm firm, but I'm also fair. And this prediction to me is very, very fair based on the body of work from the 10 other games we've seen. Yes, I think it's going to get out of hand, and I think the Boo Birds are going to be out at some point, which is something I don't think some of the players are taking seriously, but that's for another day. Again, don't get me wrong. I hope I'm wrong that that I predict us to lose and that we win. But right now, guys, I just not seeing it, and I've been burned already too many times this season thinking something is going to change when it's not going to change. So again, I predict OU to lose to OSU 45-34 at home. But again, regardless though, guys, guess what? I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be out there in the cold, in the chilly, with my brother-in-law and my sister, who are OSU grads. So it will be a nice little family event for us just to hang out. We haven't seen each other in a while. So finally, and for those of you who know, if you're worried about the cold, guys, just again go. Because again, at the end of the day, it's not just Bedlam with this. This is the season finale of the home schedule. We are here. Let's bring some prime time to the Palace Energy and show the recruits like, hey, we want them here. We want them to participate. That's all I got, guys. So Boomer Sooner, only one. Comment, rate, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos. And you'll see a post game from me tomorrow, probably very early, or right before live stream. So again, guys, it's just a busy weekend. I'm going to do my best to get everything up, as well as with it being a night kick. There's no telling when I'm going to get home. So Boomer Sooner, guys, let's go beat the Pokes. I hope I'm wrong. Prove me wrong, OU. Prove me wrong. Later, everybody.